everyone, my name is Catherine and welcome to my channel, and today I wanted to talk about what I wish I had known before going on my first EF Ultimate Break trip. Now, EF Ultimate Break is basically a tour company meant for travel for young adults. They kind of have changed their age ranges, but it goes anywhere from about 18 years old to I want to say 31 years old. And I've done a couple of EF trips over the years, starting in 2015 and kind of going almost every year up until before travel kind of was put on a halt because of everything going on in the world. But there are definitely some things I wish I'd known about EF before starting to travel with them, and I thought I'd share them with you today. I think the biggest thing was that you will make friends. This was a huge thing for me. When I did my first trip, I had to beg one of my friends to go with me, and if she didn't go, I would not have gone on this trip by myself. Granted, this was my first trip, let alone international trip, back in 2015 I'd ever gone on, but I've definitely gone on EF trips before by myself, and honestly more than half the people typically are alone traveling. You will find friends. A lot of people even say that traveling alone is even better because it forces you to make friends with other people, because a lot of times if you travel with somebody or with a group of people, you will just kind of stick together and not try as hard because you don't necessarily have to. You will make friends though with some people on your trip. I'm super introverted. I'm not someone that likes to go out and party or anything like that, and I've gone on these trips alone and I've made friends. But the next tip I have is to arrive a few days early, especially, most of these trips are international trips for people. Say you're doing a trip in Australia and you start in Sydney. I did a trip in Australia and I arrived in Sydney a couple days early because a lot of times these trips, the starting point, you leave right away. You have that initial dinner or whatever, welcome orientation in the evening, and then the next day you leave. And a lot of times this is a city that you're starting in, maybe a city that you want to explore and travel to, and you will have to, if you get there as soon as the trip starts, you won't be able to really see any of the city at all, maybe for one night. So if you want to see that city that you're starting in, I recommend coming in a few days early. A lot of times other people arrive a few days early. You can get a head start in making friends. Also, if you're flying, for example, or if something happens where it's delayed, you will not miss out on starting the trip with everyone and then have to somehow play catch up and meet them in a different city. I think another plus of coming a few days early is these trips are very energy consuming, I guess you could say. There are a lot of very late nights, a lot of very early mornings. You want to feel rested when you start the trip, and that's why another reason to get to your initial destination city a couple days early is that it allows you to have a kind of restful start and get over your jet lag and get energized before the craziness of the trip begins. Another recommendation is to take medications with you. Now, obviously, if you take any medications every day or however often, take those with you. But I'm also talking about like cold medications, sore throat, runny nose, allergies, Tylenol, whatever it be, because there's always something that's going to happen with either you or somebody on your trip that good chance maybe they might not have something. So being able to share that with everyone, having a crazy schedule and being with so many people in a new environment, there's a chance maybe someone will have an upset stomach from some new foods that they ate, or someone gets sick because they're barely sleeping and they're with a lot of people and just caught a cold naturally, and then that spreads. And so it's pretty common to get sick after trips like these just because you're in tight quarters of so many people in new environments and kind of just doing things all the time with low energy. Also, another tip is to always have cash on you. Now, I rarely ever carry cash with me, but a lot of times abroad they don't take card, and so you're stuck in a situation where, okay, you can't eat here, or you can't eat at all these different places or buy these souvenirs because you only have your card on you. Or a lot of times on these group tours, you go out and you eat with a bunch of people, and then splitting the bill can get complicated, and no one wants to pay maybe a bill for like 5-10 people, and the waiter doesn't want to split the bill for all these cards, or they don't even take the card. So just having cash makes it so much easier, and having the local currency as well. A lot of times I would convert currencies before even arriving in country, but just having cash on you in country is definitely something that I recommend. Also, another thing is really think about what you're bringing with you and what you're packing, and that you don't pack too much or too little, but really too much. And second guess what tech gear you want to bring with you. A lot of people want to bring their fancy camera equipment, which is understandable. When you're traveling, you want to get good footage, but a lot of the times that tech gear is going to make you stand out, and especially traveling in certain European countries or just tourist dense countries, pickpocketers are a real thing, and it's going to make you stand out more and be more prone to getting robbed essentially, or being put in situations that are not safe, that you don't want to be in. And a lot of the times I've seen people will bring their camera gear, and if they're just not doing anything super fancy, like they're not filming for anything specific, or they're not like professional photographers or whatever, they just end up using their iPhones because it's so much easier and quicker, and iPhones are just really good quality these days. So just really double think about if you want to bring your camera gear, if it's worth it. Although I do say that these trips are very crazy busy, and they are, there's still plenty of time for you to do whatever you want and to have free time. So there's, I think, great balance between tours that are just included in the trip price, tours that are addition that you can or can't do, and then just free time in general. So if you want to have time to just lounge by the hotel pool and just rest for a day or half a day or whatever it may be, there are opportunities to do that. So don't worry whether you should do this trip or not do this trip based on not having any time to yourself, because take it slow if you want to. If you want to stroll by yourself and window shop, whatever it may be, there's still great balance on these trips. Bring less clothes. I will pack clothes for every single trip I ever do in life, and I never wear everything that I end up bringing. Even in my everyday life, when I think about it, I'll just kind of have phases where I'll re-wear the same couple of outfits over and over again for a few months, and then it'll change, and then I'll re-wear different pairs of outfits for that season for a few months. And so I don't know why when I travel I need to bring like a new shirt for every single day, plus an extra 1 or 2 shirts and a new pair of pants, and like all this stuff. And a lot of times on these trips, there's a good chance you might buy some new clothes. Know that you're not going to wear as much clothes as you think you will. I think a lot of us have learned this lesson. One thing I try to do is learn from my past travel experiences. So there have been times where I've come home from a trip, I've made a pile of clothes that I wore, a pile of clothes I wore maybe one time, but I could have gone without it, and then clothes I did not wear. Because there are plenty of times I travel and there's clothes that I just don't wear at all. Like honestly, a fourth or a third of what I pack. And I'll take a picture to show myself, okay, I went on this 10-day trip to X place, and this is what I actually ended up wearing. And it's always shocking to me how much less I wear clothes and a variety of clothes than I think I will. And I still am not great at this. Another thing is that I am not a party person. I don't drink at all. I don't like to go out. I don't like bars or clubs. I like to go to concerts. And I'm also an introvert, so I'm just like the epitome of like not a party person. And I still love going on EF tour trips. So don't think that if you're not a party person, you're just not going to get along, you're going to be left out, you're going to be uncomfortable. You will find there will always be party people on these tours. Like, you will always find that. But there will also always be people that aren't party people and that are there for the culture and, you know, the tours that are booked in whatever that country is, you know, known for. So there's always a mix of people. So don't let the whole party stereotypes also steer you away from doing these trips. And just know that that is to be expected, and you will see that. But you will also find people that mesh with you better. Know that you can stack trips together. And what I mean is, a lot of these EF trips in certain regions, the way that they're scheduled time frame wise, you can do one trip after the other. Because say you live in the United States like me and you want to do a trip in East Asia, obviously that, you know, it takes a long time to get there. It's expensive and there's a big time change, so getting adjusted to that. And you want to go to more than just Japan. You want to go also to Thailand and China. But there's no trip that is like long and combines all those different countries. But what you can do is do a Japan trip from, say, May 1st to 10th. And then a lot of times tours from EF that are in similar geographical areas, such as, let's say, Thailand, there's a chance that there will be a trip from May 12th to then the 20th. And that way you can stack trips together. Obviously, you will be with different people in a different tour group for those different trips, but it's also not uncommon to see other people also do the same trips as you, just because they have the same idea as you, where they want to go to multiple countries since they're in that part of the world. And I was able to do that with the Middle East, for example, in 2019. I took an Egypt trip, and then I stacked it with a Israel and Jordan trip right afterwards, and that was really great. So when you book your trips with EF, they will help you and be able to do that for you as well, and I definitely recommend that. Another tip is to wear good walking shoes. I feel like this is very obvious, but I've definitely learned myself. Sometimes you might have cute shoes that you wear kind of every day, and you know, maybe you will be walking pretty much on these tours a crazy ton of amount, like 20,000 steps plus every single day. And you may think, for example, I had this pair of boots, just like kind of combat boots that I wore pretty often at home, and they never gave my feet any issues at all. But also when I'm at home, this was a few years ago, so I was going to classes and I was sitting in class, and then I was going to my next class, and then I drove to lunch and I walked around here and there, but I didn't walk straight all day for multiple days in a row, like 20,000 plus steps. I brought those shoes to a trip I did in Japan, and I basically left like my general group to travel with a smaller group, and I only brought those boots to save space. And my feet were in so much pain. Like, I honestly thought I was gonna go to like the doctor because I was in so much pain. I don't know how to describe it. I remember being in the metro, holding onto the railing as I was walking down to go like to the underground metro, and my feet were in searing pain. Like, it felt like knives were stabbing my feet with every step, and I had to like sidestep down. I was getting so scared that like something was seriously wrong with me. I knew it was the shoes, but I thought, I don't know, it was just so bad. So I just learned from then on out, wear your most reliable sneakers, Nikes or New Balance or Asics or whatever they are, and wear those every single day. You can bring a few nice shoes for like evening things, or if there's more like a pool or beach day. But for the most part, just really rely on your sneakers, and you're not gonna care how cute you look when you're in serious pain. Like, I thought those combat boots were really cute because they were like this really cool kind of color that wasn't black, and it was not worth it. I will say that it was not worth it. And then my next and last piece of advice that I want to give to you guys is to download videos, movies, entertainment ahead of time before you go on these trips. Or even you can try doing that at hotels with Wi-Fi in the evenings, but you will have a decent amount of downtime, even though that does contradict what I said earlier about having a lot of tours and busyness. But you will spend a lot of time typically on a bus going from city A to B within your tour, and a lot of times those bus drives can be hours long, like even all day sometimes. So I recommend downloading a bunch of stuff. I have YouTube Premium, so that lets me download videos ahead of time, which is so great. So I recommend that. It's nothing too pricey. I think it's similar to like a Hulu subscription or Netflix or whatever, maybe slightly cheaper, but definitely recommend that. As well as for the airplane, I recommend downloading Hulu shows. Oh wait, you can't download Hulu shows now that I'm thinking about it. That's the thing that always gets me. Okay, you can download, I think, Amazon Prime and Netflix, and then YouTube if you have YouTube Premium. Maybe some other ones, but I only have those plus Hulu. But I definitely recommend doing that because nothing's worse than just being kind of stuck on a bus, bored, you don't want to sleep, you've already napped, and there's a lot of time left and you're kind of in the middle of nowhere. And that is my advice for you. So thank you guys so much for watching. I actually have a link and codes down below for $100 off your EF trip if you want to use that. I've never regretted going on an EF trip. They're so much fun. So thank you guys so much, and I hope you have a great day or night whenever you're seeing this. Bye.